Key number 2, identity. So what is identity? For you, what is identity? Most of the time, people have a negative perspective about themselves, negative view of themselves. So if I ask you to draw something that would describe you, some might draw a broken glass, some might draw something dark, some might draw positive, okay? But there are so many people also describes themselves as negative, especially in our context, Filipinos. Okay, so that's the struggle that we are in. So when I was asked to draw that describes me, I draw a caterpillar. Yeah, so I draw a caterpillar, ready to have a metamorphosis to become a butterfly. Okay, so identity means how you see yourself. How do you look at yourself? It answers the questions I am, who I am. Okay, it refers to your self-perception. People either have a predominantly positive or negative sense of identity. Why? A positive personal identity means that you see yourself as a person of significant worth with positive potentials for becoming even better, regardless of what people think of you. It means being able to accept the imperfections you see in yourself without hating yourself for them. Believing that though you are not perfect, you can be a better person. Okay? So, identity is having a good view of yourself. You see yourself as a person of significance, and that you accept both your positive and your negative side without hating yourself. Okay, so it's believing that you are not perfect, but you can be better. Okay, you can become better. Okay, so that is a positive personal identity. So, two dimensions of personal identity. On what grounds do we base our personal worth or identity? So, where do we get our worth? In Tagalog, halaga. Where do we get it? Our worth, our personal worth. So, first is in the functional dimension. First functional dimension, my identity is based on what I do best. That makes me unique from others. Okay? So, they know me based on my performance. So, if I'm a pastor, so I get my worth on being a pastor. So if I do good, people appreciates me based on my what I do best. Okay? So worth based on performance. So we usually get our worth on performance. That's why when there is a hi hello conversation with a long lost friend, the next question is, what are you doing right now? What is your work? What's your job? Okay, so we always present right away our identity. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. Okay, so but if we place our worth on performance, the tendency is we also lose our identity once we commit failure. Okay, so identity based on performance is quite good if you are performing well. But if you fail, then your identity goes down with your failure. Okay, so you lost your identity. That's why if you are a multi-million person and then you lost all your money, it's hard to accept. If you are a known person, you have this identity. For example, you are a leader of some organization and then you step down and then somebody replace you, you lost your identity. Okay, especially if you base your identity on those performances. Okay, so most of us base our identity on performance, especially regarding our family, that our parents tells us that you get an A, and when you get an A, I love you. If you do good, I love you. Oh, bad. Hindi ka love ni daddy. Your father don't love you. So we use it as way of motivating our kids. Uh, we love them if they do good, if they perform well, but if they don't, then we don't love them anymore. Okay, so that is identity functional dimension. If we get our worth from what we are doing. Okay, you place your worth on your skills and talents. You place your worth on your position, your wealth, your possession. You place all your things, your identity here. If this goes away from you, then so does your identity. So if you are skillful and you place your worth there, if your skills are gone, you cut your hand, and so you become frustrated and you lose your identity right away. Okay, so you look down on yourself right away because of your identity being dragged by the events that took place. Okay, so relational dimension. My identity is based on my personal worth and uniqueness in relation to my creator. Okay, this is your identity is not based on what you are doing outside, but it's being inside your unique relation to your creator. Okay, to those who truly know you, truly know and love you. Okay, so worth based on relationship. So that's identity. You base your identity based on your relationship. You see in Genesis 2:5, it says there is no man to work the ground. That's why God did not send rain yet. So, but after He created the man, because there's no one to work the ground, so He created the man. The Hebrew word for the ground is Adamah, and the name of the man is Adam. So he's taken from Adamah, so he's Adam. So he is a performance being. He will work the ground. He will work the ground. He will cultivate the ground. That is his purpose. So basically, men, male species, are created to be performance being. That's why when we our tendency is really to work. We are willing to sacrifice to be away from our family just to give our best to work to provide because that is our call to work. Okay? So that's we are performance being man people. Okay? So that is our orientation as based on the Genesis. But after he was taken, Genesis 2:15 said, and he took the man and put him on his garden. Oh, very strange. Literally, he took the man and put him on his garden. Why not create the man inside the garden? Why create the man outside the garden and then get the man and put him in the garden? And the creation of man is this. And God formed the dust of the ground. Oh, see? The man was created from the dust of the ground. You see, from the Babylonian creation, we are created from the god Ea, blood of a god. From the creation story of an Egyptian, we came from a clay. We are being formed from a clay. But in the Jewish Bible, we are created from the dust of the ground. What's the significance and the difference between the three? You see, a dust doesn't have any worth. A dust doesn't have any worth. It's worthless. That's why it's a figure of speech when you say, you will bite the dust for the rest of your life. I will totally humiliate you. You will become worthless. So that's the punishment for the serpent. But let me go back to the man. He was taken from the dust of the ground. It signifies worthlessness. It signifies no worth. Imagine, you are created without a worth. And so you are longing right now to fill that void to have a worth. That's why you're longing for affirmation from people. You're longing for affirmation from your parents. In fact, most of the things that we do now is the subconscious part of our brain telling us we need to be affirmed by our parents. Some do nasty things just to be appreciated by their parents. They leave family, they go abroad to send money to their families because they want to get that affirmation they have been longing since childhood. Okay, so we need appreciation, affirmation because from the beginning we are created from the dust of the ground, feeling worthlessness. But this is the catch. After you are created as a dust of the ground, You're put into the garden of God, the Garden of Eden. Wow. What does that signify? It simply means in the ancient times, every king has a garden. The Babylonian kings has a hanging garden. King Solomon has a garden with all the fruits in the world in it, the flowers in it. And the kings have their own garden. And a garden is a place of fellowship, a place of intimacy, and it's a place for friends only. So, friends, family, and associates. There's no work in the garden. Only winding up, bonding, fellowship. Okay, and there's a guard at the gate that no one can enter except of the king's permission. So what I'm trying to say is, we who do not have any worth became a friend of a king. We become his friends. He took us and put him on his garden. Meaning, our worth right now is not based on our, even though we don't have a worth, God gave us worth. He valued us. He made us his friends. He put us in his garden. And now he become his friends. We have fellowship with him. That's why Thomas Edison said, there's a vacuum in each man's heart, everyone's heart, that no one can fill it. Only God can fill it. And once you find God, the restlessness of your soul will be quenched. Okay? Because God put it there so that you will search for him. You can try filling it with any other stuff, but it won't be satisfied. Okay? So, my soul is restless until I find my rest in you, Saint Augustine said. Okay, so that is relational dimension of our identity. That we need not to base our identity on this performance. Skills, talents, gifts, position, possession, wealth. We don't need to put our worth there. Because if we put our worth here, it makes us also arrogant. We become prideful with these things. Because if we have this one, then we look at ourselves higher, greater. And then we look down on others who don't have. If you are a millionaire, you look down on the poor. If you are like this, you look down on them. If you are skillful, you look down on those who don't know. Okay, so if you are rich and your relatives are poor, then you think you're the decision maker of your family already because you have the one. You have the say. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is if you put your worth in these things, it will make your head bigger. The problem is if you put it there, if it got lost, if you fail in these things, then so goes with your identity, your worth, your affirmation, your appreciation. You lost all your friends. Okay? So that's the problem with that kind of action that you are basing your worth on these things. Okay, but if you base your worth on God's love, your creator, that he chose you, that he made you his friend, and he called you by your name, and so it's unchanging. God loves you when you do good. God loves you when you do bad. Because God's love towards you is not based on your performance. It is based on his identity as a loving God that calls himself agape love, unconditional love. It's not based on you, but it's based on him. So that is your identity covered by that love. And you can you can get to know that love through Jesus Christ because Jesus is the representative of God. Okay? So relational dimension, my identity is based on my personal worth and uniqueness in relationship to my creator. Okay? To your creator. So, if you put your worth on that unchanging, then you become more, you become more focused on what you are ought to do, you are called to do. Whether that's work, whether whatever you are called to do, then you are more focused on it. Because you are not anymore insecure that you want to prove yourself. You want to prove yourself. You always want to prove yourself to people because you feel that they don't know you yet. So I need to prove myself. So in the process of proving yourself, you gave your best in the first 3 months. After 3 months, you get burned out. You got burned out. Why? Because you lost all the gasoline already. And then you resign after a year. because you're tired already. You cannot keep performing, and you are afraid to fail because people may see you and fail, and they will laugh at you, and they will look down on you, and they will know who you really are. That's so sad. You kick out yourself from work. Okay? So, relax. Yeah, just do what you're called to do. Don't outperform yourself. Just relax. Okay? So, it's good to give our best, but with the right motive. You see, motive steals your joy. If you have the wrong motive in doing what you're called to do, it robs your joy. But if you do it for the right motive, then that's great. Okay? So, relational dimension. So your identity or self-perception ultimately determines the level of your performance and the quality of your relationship, behavior, and life. Imagine, your identity, your self-perception determines your performance. If you look yourself like I'm going to hell, then you act like going to hell. But if you look at yourself that you're going to heaven, then you'll act like a citizen of heaven, right? So, how you look at yourself will determine how you will look at life, behavior, and relationships. Okay, you do not see things as they are. You see things as you are. Okay? Sometimes we think with everybody that they are looking down on me, they are looking down on me, they are laughing at my mistake. While actually you are the one thinking that way. And you always run, as a famous quotation said, guilty runs even when no one is chasing. No one is chasing you, but you are running. Why? Because you think somebody is chasing you, because you are guilty. Okay? You do not see them as they are. You see them as you are. That's why communication is 90% about yourself and 10% about the person is saying. You see, when somebody talks to you, you're not listening to that person. You are interpreting what the person is saying based on your perspective. If a businessman comes to you and he is sincere, he is a friend, and he really just wants to talk to you about life and fun and bonding. But when he comes to you, you look at him and said, "Oh, this man is offering me something. There's something business in mind. He's gonna offer me something business again." So, you see, it is not that person. It is you. You are interpreting that person. That's why it's hard to live that kind of life. You are always interpreting everybody in a negative way. Okay, so our self-perception determines how we look at others, the world, and experience. If you think people cannot forgive because you are unforgiving yourself, you cannot forgive yourself. That's why you think others. You think others are backbiter, gossipers, because you yourself is a gossiper and a backbiter. So you look at them. Actually, you're not looking at them. You are projecting yourself to them. That you are like this, you are like this. And they are not like that at all. You are that person. You are projecting yourself to them. See? That's really hard. You see, the capacity for getting along with our neighbor depends to a large extent on the capacity of getting along with ourselves. Are you getting along with yourself? The self-respecting individual will try to be as tolerant of his neighbor's shortcomings as he is of his own. You see? If you are a self-respecting individual, you respect yourself. You are not hard on your mistake. You forgive yourself. That is why when others commit mistakes towards you, you are also forgiving. You can also, okay, I can, I can tolerate that one. But if you are so hard on yourself when people make mistakes towards you, then you are also so hard with them. Okay? The remarkable thing is that we really love our neighbor as ourselves. We do unto others as we do unto ourselves. We hate others when we hate ourselves. We are tolerant of others when we tolerate ourselves. We forgive others when we forgive ourselves. We are prone to sacrifice others when we are ready to sacrifice ourselves. Eric Hofer. Okay? So basically, it's 80% about yourself and 20% about what happens to you. It's still your choice. Okay, so self-contempt, however vague, sharpens our eyes for the imperfection of others. You see, if you hate yourself, it sharpens your eyes to the imperfection of others. That's why you can always see the negative side of everybody. Even the one that is doing good to you, you still see the negative thing. Why? Because you have self-contempt. It sharpens our eyes for the imperfection of others. We usually strive to reveal in others the blemishes we hide in ourselves. That's why in Filipino culture, when we know somebody committed mistake, we dig it, we dig it. We want them to be exposed because we are hiding it from us, so that they will not see that we are wicked. They will see that this one is wicked. Okay, so you feel better. Oh, I'm better than that person. The question is it healthy? It is not love of self, but hatred of self, which is the root of the trouble that afflict our world. It is not the love of self, but the hatred of self, which is the root that afflict our world, Eric Hofer. Okay? So once we start loving ourselves, it is easier to love others. Once we start understanding ourselves, it is easier to understand others. But if we are angry, hating ourselves, then we can always see the negative side of everyone. We are sharpening our eyes to see the bad sides. You see, persons of high self-esteem are not driven to make themselves superior to others. If you look good on yourself, you have a high self-esteem, your drive is not to be superior to others. They do not seek to prove their value by measuring themselves against a comparative standards. Their joy is being who they are, not in being better than someone else. Nathaniel Brandon. Okay? So, little people belittle people. Great people, truly great people, inspires others that they too can become. So that is what I'm trying to tell. Okay, so response of persons of high self-esteem, that's why people are always trying to prove themselves because in reality they are insecure. In reality, they don't see themselves as big. They just want to hide on that giant, but actually they are so small in their own eyes. They just want to prove themselves because they need to prove something. But if you look positively with yourself, I don't have to prove something. God loves me. Okay? So, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are absolutely right, according to Henry Ford. You see, you believe you can, you're right. You believe you can't, you're also right. Because it's only based on you. That's identity and performance. Okay, so if your identity, if you think you can, then you can. But if you think you can't and you make all the blames to others, because of this, because of that, because of recession, because of pandemic, that's why we're experiencing. No! There's so many people right now succeeding because they don't take blaming others. They take responsibility with their action. They find solution with their problem. It's not because of this, it's not because of that. If you always find people to blame, then you lose control of your life. But if you start accepting your mistake and you start changing it, then you can take back your life. Don't let your life loose from your hand and giving it to others. You see, the more you blame others, you are giving your life to them because they are the one that should be changing. They are the one that is responsible. But if you take the blame, I've done this to myself, I will deal with this, I will fix this, then your life is in your hand. You can change it. Okay? Ability is limited only by attitude. Attitude is conditioned by self-perception or how you see yourself. So you think you don't have the ability to do this task? It's just you talking to yourself. You are the only one who is limiting yourself. Okay? So attitude is conditioned by self-perception. If you think that you can do it, then you can. If you think you can't, then you're also right. The most outstanding truth about yourself is this. Okay, listen. You are more than what you think you are. Wow. You can do more than what you think you can do now or what you think you can do. Your greatest mistake is this: to judge yourself only on the basis of what you know about yourself today. You still have a lot of hidden dormant potentials that you have not realized. It will take a lifetime to realize them all. And the only thing that's keeping you from realizing them is your premature judgment about yourself based on your past successes or failures. You have not yet arrived, for success is a journey, not a destination. Ben Sweetland. You are still on the journey of becoming. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, you think you know yourself already? No, you don't. You haven't been there yet. You did not discover your dormant skills yet. But if you put a period on it, then you're done. So try. You don't know if you can do it if you don't try. Okay, so try it. Most people tend to judge our identity on the basis of what they regularly observe in us. They see us as finished product. Because of this, most people are wrong about our true identity. Okay, so people sees us as a finished product. Hindi na magbabago yan. That person will never change. But I tell you this, we are not finished product. We are a product in the making. Rare are the people who can judge our identity on the basis of our positive potentials. It's very rare. Even leaders fail to see. On what we can become, these are the people who sees us as product in the making. Okay? God sees us as a product in the making. God doesn't judge us by what we are doing right now, but what we can become in the future. God sees us not that we will not change, but He sees us as a product in the making. Okay? So listen to Pablo Picasso. This made him great. My mother said to me, if you become a soldier, you'll be a general. If you become a monk, you'll end up as the Pope. Instead, I became a painter and wound up as Picasso. You see, what's the secret of his greatness? People affirming his positive, affirming him, telling him that you can do this, you can do better. If you soldier, you become a general. If you become a priest, you become a pope. That's what is affirmation is. You are informing the person that you can do great things. So he truly became great. And when he became a painter, then he became a Picasso. There is nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly, Buckminster Fuller. Okay, so do not think that it's over. Even a caterpillar, you cannot tell that it will become a butterfly. It's itchy, it's kadiri, but it became a butterfly. There isn't a person anywhere that isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can. Henry Ford. Okay? So you can always outdo yourself. You can always do better than that. Only your maker knows your true worth, your true potentials. Only he has the right to define who you are. So if the people are defining you, they're telling you that you're like this, and most of it are negative, brush it off. Brush it off. It's not you, it's them. They are just projecting themselves to you. Okay? It's not you, it's them. Only God can define us. Okay? Our Creator. The big challenge is to become all that you have the possibility of becoming. You cannot believe what it does not take. You cannot believe what it does to the human spirit to maximize your human potentials and stretch yourself to the limit. Jim Rohn. Okay? We need to become. Law of the stretch. You can never know what you are capable of becoming or capable of doing until you have stretched yourself to the limit. Okay, only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can grow, how far one can go. T.S. Eliot. So you want to know your limit? Stretch your limit. Try other things. Don't be afraid to fail, because failure are the stepping stones to success. Failure is not a hindrance to success. We think that the two enemy of success is this: failure and enemies. Failure is like our best friend. It is telling you that you did something that is not working. That is why you need to improve what you are doing. Enemy. You see, your friend will always tell positive things about you, but your enemy will not. He will magnify your negative and then will expose it to public. So what's the role of the enemy? It tells you that you have something negative in you that you need to develop. Your character needs to be developed. So these two are not the greatest enemy. They are the stepping stone to success. Okay? We don't know who we are until we see what we can do, Martha Grimes. Do you want to know who you are? Don't ask. Act. Action will delineate and define you. We told Gombrowicz. To know oneself, one should assert oneself. Albert Camus. Okay, so you want to know yourself? Act, assert, expose yourself, present yourself, volunteer yourself, so that you will get to know yourself. Okay, let's look at the profile of the great people, their identity. Thomas Edison was a newsboy on trains. Okay, imagine Thomas Edison, just a newsboy on trains. Andrew Carnegie started work at $4 a month. Imagine Andrew Carnegie. He saved America from bankruptcy. And yet he started at $4 a month. You do not despise small beginnings. John D. Rockefeller at $6 a week. The remarkable thing about Abraham Lincoln was not that he was born in a log cabin, but that he got out of the cabin. So according to John Maxwell, developing the leaders within you. What I'm trying to say is, these people, they gave their best. And they did not believe the definition of others regarding themselves. Demosthenes, the greatest orator of the ancient world, stuttered. He's a stutterer. The first time he tried to make a public speech, he was laughed off the rostrum. Julius Caesar, the conqueror, the great emperor, was an epileptic. Imagine. Napoleon was of the humble parentage and far from being born of a genius. He stood 46 in his class at the military academy in a class of 65. Imagine 46 in the class of 65 is really far from genius. Beethoven, when he created his symphonies and other stuff, he was already deaf. Beethoven was deaf, as was Thomas Edison. Imagine these great people, no? Maybe that's a positive of being deaf. You cannot hear the negative words that people are telling you, so you only hear what you are telling yourself positively. Okay, Charles Dickens was lame. So was Handel. Homer was blind. Plato was a hunchback. Imagine the philosopher that we look up to. If he shrink with his weakness that he's a hunchback, he will not write. He will not think. And he will immerse himself with disappointments and hurting and bitterness. But he did not. Sir Walter Scott was paralyzed. Oh, wow. Albert Einstein, listen to this, could not speak until he was 4 years old. Imagine. And did not read until he was 7. Later, he even failed courses in math. Oh, he failed in math. His parents and teachers worried about his mental ability. Oh, this one has a problem mentally. I wonder what the parents and teachers think right now after he did those things. Beethoven's music teacher said about him, as a composer, he is hopeless. Imagine music teacher of Beethoven, he is hopeless as a composer. I don't think so. Maybe Beethoven was laughing in his grave, right? When the teacher heard of his symphonies. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. That composition, he was already deaf. Partida. When Thomas Edison was a young boy, his teacher said he was so stupid. He could never learn anything. One teacher called him a dunce. He once said, I remember I used to never be able to get along at school. I was always at the foot of my class. My father thought I was stupid, and I almost decided that I was a dunce. Imagine that. He almost believed that he was stupid. What if he believed? Then there's no light until now. So sad life. Okay? Woolworth was 21. He got a job in the store but was not allowed to wait on customers because he didn't have enough sense. A newspaper editor once fired Walt Disney because he was thought to have no good ideas. Imagine. Newspaper editor, they fired Walt Disney because he doesn't have a good idea. That helped him. After that, legends tells us that he rent a very uh, poor apartment with so many holes and there are rats in the apartment. And he was so discouraged that he began talking to the rats. So he called the first rat Mickey and he called the other rat Minnie. Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. That's when his idea boom. So Enrico Caruso was told by one music teacher, you can't sing. You have no voice at all. Oh, that one. So that's Enrico. You can't sing. You have no voice at all. An editor told Louisa May Alcott that she was incapable of writing anything that would have popular appeal. When the sculptor Auguste Rodin was young, he had difficulty learning to read and write. Today we may say he had learning disability, but his father said of him, I have an idiot for a son. His uncle agreed. He's uneducable, he said. Okay? Okay, listen. What if these people believe what people said about them and became discouraged? Where would our world be without the music of Beethoven, the art of Rodin, or the ideas of Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison? As Oscar Levant has accurately said, it's not what you are, it's what you don't become that hurts. It's what you don't become that hurts. So unless you try it, you will not know yourself. You have great potentials when you have recognized your purpose and believe that you have every necessary potentials in you to make it happen. You will find your place on earth. If you are what you should be, you will set the world on fire. Okay? So that is our identity lesson. So if you have any question, put it in the comment box. And if you have any reflection, what struck you most, you can put it on the reflection in the comment box. So thank you for listening, and may we grasp our identity. It's not the people telling us, but it's who our perspective in ourselves. And how we deal with others is strongly related on how we deal with ourselves, with our weaknesses. If we are insecure, then even if our partner is not doing something evil, we think that they're doing something evil. If they talk to opposite gender, we interpret it right away. Because we are insecure by that person that he is talking to. The problem is not them, the problem is you. You need to look at yourself better. Okay? All the best. Cheers. God bless us all.